Shields up, Armbreakers. Murakan here coming at you with another video. Welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV, and today we're going to be talking about the Heavensward expansion. Now, as you guys may or may not know, I've been playing quite a bit of Final Fantasy XIV over the last couple of weeks, and the reason I say you may or may not know is because YouTube's notification system is so incredibly reliable nowadays that I just don't have any means of actually knowing if you guys have seen the videos that I've done over the last couple of weeks, because, you know, a lot of times I actually get comments from people asking me to do something that I did the day before, but, you know, it is what it is. So anyway, I wanted to talk about Heavensward kind of like the same way that I talked about Realm Reborn, and most likely I will be talking about Stormblood when I actually finished. So this week was when I finished Final Fantasy XIV Heavensward, and when I say finished, I mean I finished the Dragon Song War, and then I went and I did the Alliance raids, the whole Sky Pirates thing, Void Arc, all of those, all of that arc. I did Alexander, and I also did, which one is the other one? The Warring Triad, which the Warring Triad I actually quite liked because of how one character gets portrayed and how one character makes a specific sacrificial move, which was something that I did not expect at all. And it really brought more depth to that particular character. But anyway, without getting into spoiler territory, what I mean to say is that I've done pretty much all of the content that was available in Heavensward, save the occasional hard dungeon or something like that, which I've also been doing, though. I've been doing a lot of those off camera, and let me just tell you, like, the hard dungeons in Heavensward, some of the best dungeon content that I've ever done in an MMO. Like, easily some of the best dungeon content I've ever done in an MMO. I really, really enjoyed those. But as you know, there is this stigma around Realm Reborn, which I even did a video on whether or not you should skip the story of Realm Reborn. And I've had quite a lot of interesting responses to that, where a lot of people agree, but there's also a lot of people that vehemently disagree. So before we even get to that part, I would just like for people to understand, like, I'm not going to judge you. I specifically say in that video, I'm not going to judge you if you choose to skip content. Like, to each his own. Some people prefer MMOs for the endgame experience, for doing dungeons, getting better loot, getting all of that stuff. Other people prefer MMOs for, you know, the social aspects, which is also important for you to get the endgame if you really want to participate in activities with your friends. But in my case, specifically with Final Fantasy XIV, I found that the most important thing for me is to really embrace the story that they've done, which Realm Reborn already had a really, really great story, in my opinion, even though, like I said in those videos, there was a lot of filler quests, which supposedly is something that they're going to be doing in, what is it, 5.3 or something, which I believe is going to be at some point next year. They will be trimming the fat of A Realm Reborn, which will probably make it a much better experience for anyone that wants to try that out. And I believe they're also coming out with like a New Game Plus thing. So even if you did skip, you will be able to go back and play those stories if you want, which I think is going to be a good experience for the people that did skip and now they're like, oh man, I'm at end game, I don't really have a whole lot to do. Then maybe you can do the whole New Game Plus thing once they actually trim the fat from that story and experience that story. Because, again, I cannot emphasize enough, the story of Realm Reborn, in my opinion, is really good. You do, however, have to do the Coils of Bahamut in order to truly appreciate that particular storyline. But anyway, so going into Heavensward, a lot of the story that takes place in the main story quest of Heavensward actually links back to A Realm Reborn. And I do mean a lot of the stuff that happens in A Realm Reborn is very important during Heavensward, like in ways that I never even thought of because, you know, I just hadn't experienced the story. So I liked A Realm Reborn. It had a lot of filler, right? That was my main complaint. Particularly the post-Realm Reborn stuff, which everybody hates. I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. I think there is one thing about Final Fantasy, which is a lot of people, they have this preconceived notion that, you know, all the fun in the MMO is at the end game. And for a lot of people, that might be true. Like I've already stated, you know, depending on the type of player that you are, the end game might be the stuff that you want. But I disagree with the notion that a lot of the stuff is is only really valuable at endgame. Because here's the thing, the way in which Final Fantasy XIV handles a lot of its raid content and instanced content and all of that stuff is they scale your character down if you overgear the content, which basically makes a lot of the content still be relevant. Not as relevant as it was when it initially came out, because, you know, people had limitations in the gear that they had, all of that stuff, and they're a little bit more lenient, which means a lot of the raids end up being significantly easier than they were back in the day. But there are still people queuing for those raids. Now with, you know, the Coils of Bahamut, there isn't anybody queuing for Coils of Bahamut, so that is a problem. But every other raid that comes after that, there are people queuing for them. Crystal Tower, which is in Realm Reborn, you can get people to do that. The Sky Pirate raids, you can get people to do that. As a matter of fact, I did. Even though that one took a bit to fill up, particularly the last instance. I was a little bit in desperation mode. It took like almost an hour to actually get to the last instance. But regardless of that, what I'm trying to say is, unlike most other MMOs, where, you know, previous expansions, it's just completely obsolete content that you're not going to be able to enjoy because you're either going to overgear it or there's nobody actually playing that content. In Final Fantasy XIV, they make that content relevant through the duty roulettes, where people will actually queue daily to do something that gives them a significant reward, and they might end up getting queued into that earlier content, which in a lot of ways is something that I've enjoyed immensely, because it's allowed me to do, you know, the hard dungeons of Heavensward and enjoy those. It's allowed me to do all of the raids, because I'm not going into these raids with a full pre-made party. Most of the times, if I'm able to get some people from my stream chat to come with me, then, you know, that's a lot better, because, you know, we have reliable healers and DPSers and all of that stuff. But even as a solo player, you can still queue today to do the Heavensward raids, and you can still experience that. So, in a sense, you don't have to rush to endgame to experience raiding and all that stuff. You can experience all of the relevant raiding content as you advance through the game, which is what I've been doing. And that, in a lot of ways, contributes to the fact that I don't think you need to rush to endgame, and you can take your time just experiencing the story of Heavensward, which is the way that I did it. And the story of Heavensward is so much better, but it is made so much better because of all of the knowledge that I had of A Realm Reborn, right? But the experience that you have going through it, like, there were some things that happened in A Realm Reborn that I felt like, this character didn't really deserve this thing that happened. It wasn't really able to provoke an emotional response from me. On the other hand, in Heavensward, whenever something happens to a character, and I'm trying to be as spoiler free as possible here, but whenever something happens to a character, it really hits you in the feels. Like, there were multiple times where I came very close to tears in the story of Heavensward, which not a lot of games have the capability to bring that side of me out. And it was just very impressive the way that they handled everything in the cinematics, the quests, the stuff that you end up doing, the events that end up happening. Particularly near the end, one of the characters that I've always felt like I've barely known that character, and then they do this thing at the end, and I was like, holy shit, no way. Just thinking about it, just thinking about that event that took place near the end of Heavensward, like, it still completely blows me away, and just surprises me in ways that, basically, it's the kind of story that, again, I would not expect to see told in an MMO. And another thing that I feel that I should really highlight when it comes to Final Fantasy XIV has been the community. The community has been amazing. Like, I've had people in my chat pretty much monitoring the chat, making sure that no spoilers ever come up in chat. Like, the fact that I've been able to enjoy the story of this game that is, I don't even know when Heavensward came out, right? I'm currently going into Stormblood without any little bit of the story being spoiled for me has been fantastic. And the community has been very supportive about it. I've been able to ask them about stuff that I'm confused and whatnot, and it's never really been the case that someone just outright said, oh yeah, this thing happens because of this, and you're just like, what the fuck, right? That stuff doesn't really happen, which has really been surprising. And another aspect of the community, and maybe this is not the same experience that you get when you get to end game with Final Fantasy XIV, but another aspect that has been really surprising to me has been people not dropping out of instances. Like, I've had one time where a raid wipe caused several people to leave. This happened once. And we're talking about, I'm probably well over 200 hours into the game right now. And I've only experienced like a mass exodus of players from an instance once. That so far has really been completely mind-blowing. And even after those players left, the group didn't fall apart. We waited for about, I don't know, 5 minutes, whatever, and we completed the raid with a shortage of 4 people, or however much it was. But that's one of the most surprising things to me, because like in World of Warcraft, like whenever you're doing an instance, someone makes one tiny mistake, man, fuck this, fuck this shit, man. Everybody drops out like that. Just like, literally like that, everybody leaves at the drop of a dime. Like a DPSer pulls something by mistake, man, fuck this, I ain't tanking this shit. That's pretty much how it goes in World of Warcraft. So the fact that people just try not to leave and try to work out the problems in dungeons is something that it almost feels like a new thing to actually find a player base that doesn't just rage out, right? Like the other night, I think that I was over pulling or something in an instance, and rather than the healer just raging out, he said, "Hey, dude, can you just take it a little bit slower?" Because I mean, you know, that's what would happen in World of Warcraft. Like if you're over pulling and you're overtaxing your healer, the healer would fucking leave. Now I did notice that I was overtaxing him, so I was gonna slow down regardless. But the fact that instead of him just leaving or raging or whatever, he was just like, "Hey, dude, can you just like slow it down a little bit?" Like. Amazingly enough, having people actually be polite to you in a video game, as opposed to just raging out and leaving, is something that is surprising. And I hope that never changes. And I hope that, you know, the Stormblood story and the Shadowbringers story can live up to my Heavensward experience. So far, Stormblood has had a bit of a slower startup, that's for sure. But it has nonetheless still been enjoyable. And, you know, I'm playing Gunbreaker. I'm having a blast with it. That's my main class, pretty much. I'm not going to be swapping classes anymore because I want to make sure that I don't get level locked during Shadowbringers. But, you know, I think Heavensward is one of the best stories that I've seen in any game, as opposed to just, like, one of the best stories I've seen in an MMO. It's definitely the best story that I've seen in an MMO, but one of the best stories that I've experienced in gaming in general. Not the best, because, you know, that soul sacrifice is soul sacrifice, and it's very special. But, you know, the story of Heavensward really was surprising, particularly when, you know, I knew that people said Heavensward was way better than Realm Reborn. I still don't think it's like, oh man, it's like night and day. But it is a significant step up, and it really sets up the stage for some really great stuff that I hope comes to fruition with Stormblood and Shadowbringers. But it's definitely been surprising, particularly the amount of stuff that they bring up from older stories. Like, you're talking at the end of Heavensward, for instance, there's this character that you will not know what this character has been doing, and some stuff gets referenced, unless you have done the Crystal Tower raid all the way back at the end of a Realm Reborn. Which there's a lot of that, right? There's a lot of reference to older stories and whatnot. And I've already heard that in Shadowbringers they're going to bring back stuff from the Crystal Tower again. So it's just, everything is so well interconnected that it surprises me at every turn still. And yeah, I'm pretty much heavily invested in it, and I'm going to keep playing it. Even if, you know, Iceborne comes out, which you guys know Iceborne's like my big priority once that hits. But even if that comes out and I still haven't gotten the Shadowbringers or whatever, I will return to Final Fantasy XIV whenever, you know, that stuff is done, for sure, because I've been enjoying it that much. But anyways, that's pretty much it for this video. I just wanted to talk to you guys about my experience in Heavensward because a lot of you asked me to talk about this. Let me know what you guys thought about it in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. If you did not enjoy the video, hit the dislike button because feedback is important. Comments, feedback, comment section down below. Like, dislike. If you enjoy my content, subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon because, actually, I don't even know if you should hit the bell notification icon. I quit. Like, I don't care, dude. It's not like YouTube's going to notify you anyway. Who gives a crap? But anyway, just I hope this cheered up your day. And stay strong. May your shields never break.